been investigating. The police must have waited to see that this man is well. Otherwise, they wouldn't have charged this woman attempted murder. I'm sure they were scared to say he might die. For them to come now and make the judgment, or make the arrest and charge the lady, it is because I'm sure they are convinced that this man will live. If they were not sure if this man will live as a result of the shooting, they wouldn't have charged that lady attempted murder. Even if wapunko umuntu nalwalisha, if you hit a person in a road traffic accident, the police wait to see if the person will survive. If the person survives, that's when they can charge you with whatever relevant charge. But when a person is very sick, the police are reluctant to issue a statement or to charge a person because they think that maybe tomorrow he will die. If you see the police charging a person like this as attempted murder, it means, this person is going to live. Of course, he will eventually die by anything else, but at least they would have been convinced that this person is not at risk of dying as a result of whatever happened, whether an accident, whether being shot. No. So, and one thing is that if they are going to charge somebody, it means that this case will go to court. So how can the police lie when the victim is alive and the victim is likely going to be one of the witnesses? Definitely is going to be one of the witnesses. So how can they lie? But you see, by PF, because they lied, because they want to smear the government, they don't want to believe that. They are coming up with all sorts of stories. Sometimes, if I say something and I realize that it is not true, I do come here and I tell you to say, sorry, what I told you is not true. You will continue, you even continue lying. You even bring up more lies just for you to maintain your lies. It's very bad. It's very bad. And this is the same situation now with the story of Ntwanken. Yava Edgar Lungu. This is the same situation. I must say that I'm very disappointed with a number of opposition leaders. I am very disappointed because some of these opposition leaders, I know them personally, that there are people that can reason. I know there are people that can reason. I know these are educated people. We are afraid maybe for him to be called a doctor. It is not because he just bought those qualifications. But Fred Membe didn't buy the qualification like some of these other leaders that we know who have bought qualifications. But Fred Membe has gone through the training of whatever he has been certified for. But Fred Membe is a very intelligent man. But Fred Membe is able to reason out things and so on. But I'm getting shocked that Fred Membe keeps insisting that the family is correct. But Fred Membe knows that what the family is doing is wrong. He knows, even when he lies in his bed, but Fred Membe knows that whatever Esther Lungu is doing is not right. But Fred Membe knows. But Fred Membe knows that I'm right on this one. He knows. But because of, political desperation, I'll call it political desperation. They are twisting. They are moving away from what is reasonable and joining with Esther Lungu and his family and her family to support what is wrong. president, which person, if really you are a man worth to be a president, eh? If you are a man worth to be a president, imagine yourself, you are the one in power right now. Bonse fe mwebalelanda, bonse mwebale support if yaba Edgar Lungu, if yaba Esther Lungu, mwebale support. All of you who are supporting, tell me, what would you do if you were the one in position of Hakainde Hichilema? Forget about even Hakainde Hichilema. Put yourself in the shoes, in the office of the president. You are the president. Forget about Hakainde Hichilema. Put yourself there. Because some of you are thinking, no, Dad, you are saying this because you want to come back. Dad, you are saying this because you want money. I am aspiring to be a Republican president. So when it comes to national issues, I don't look at Hakainde Hichilema. I look at what would I do if I were in the position. What will I do if I am the president? That's what I ask myself. And if I look at what I will do, I compare to what Hakainde Hichilema is doing. Are we thinking differently? Or is what Hakainde Hichilema what I will do? Then I will agree with him. If I look at what Hakainde Hichilema is doing, if I see that I wouldn't do that, then I will criticize him. That's how I operate. That's how I operate. I look at myself to say, okay, if I were in the position of president, what would I do? Okay, this is what I would do. What about Hakainde Hichilema, the one who is there? And it may not even be Hakainde Hichilema. What about the one who is there? What is he doing? Are we agreeing or we are differing? Or there is a difference? And in this instance, what Hakainde Hichilema is doing is exceptionally well. I actually admire Hakainde Hichilema because I think what he has done more than I would do. I don't think I would have the patience. Hakainde Hichilema has exuded so much patience in this. He has exuded patience, maturity. I mean, I admire him for that. And that's why I'm agreeing with you. Does it mean that I've become his press singer? No. Does it mean that then I should come back? No. I'm still here. And I know I'll still be here. So other differences, yes, we can have other differences somewhere else. But let us look at issues on their own merit. So once I'm addressing those opposition political party leaders because you seem to have gone one side. But I know that intelligent leaders like Friedman, you will know that what Esther Lungu is doing is not right. Would you accept that a former president be buried outside Zambia? If you were the president, would you accept that you should be suspended during a state funeral? Would you? Would you accept to be suspended? Because when they're saying, no, Hakainde Hichilema should not be there. Would you accept to be suspended by an opposition political party grouping? Yeah, would you? Would you accept to be at home whilst foreign dignitaries are coming to Zambia and you are not there? Does that make sense? So, I know a lot of you are not agreeing with me and you are against me, even those that have liked me. But look at my reasoning. If it is Esther Lungu, it's not right. It's not right. Anyway, now this is and you know whatever they have been saying, that's how they went to court. And the court refused. The court refused to agree with them. The court did not refuse because Chavinga paid lawyers. No, come on, Mwebantu. If you that PF tabafu afyo kusumina tabakuwa okusumina. They will always bring up something. When muntu na wala tiyo na ushakidni. Apa, they took their case to court. They brought their arguments before court. And the court did not agree with them because they were based on bitterness. They were based on bitterness. I've been saying this over and over. Their demands are not positive. They're not building a country. They are based on bitterness. No. The wishes of Edgar Lungu. Edgar Lungu wished that the Hakainde Hichilema should not be part of the body. What does that mean? What does it mean? Ile pano ndi mwegza. Before I die in a temple kulanda, Hakainde Hichilema. What does that mean? It's bitterness. It's bitterness. You don't want to forgive. Na mumanda ole ingira mumanda womuntu ulifwa. You still want to perpetuate the hatred that has been there. At which point do you reconcile with others? Now, once if surely, when we reconcile with our friends, if not at the point of death, I didn't start accusing this one and this one and this one and this one. What I was asking for is forgiveness. What I was asking for is forgiveness. I even called a priest. Please call a priest so that I can confess my sins and be forgiven. It is not a time to start saying, we are Nchtiref. No, it's not. They won't do. And even new people who are listening, if you just put politics aside, you would agree that they seek reconciliation. They want to unite with others. Now, you want to show, you want to reconcile with people. So, are you supporting Lungu to say, initially for Hakainde Hichilema Parame Kuchitumbi chant? Are you supporting that? And the court refused. The court refused. I almost told Yakwa Makebi Zulu. Makebi Zulu was saying, Edgar Lungu will not be buried without him telling a story. What story? A story of bitterness. Makebi Zulu's story, it is all bitterness. And the court refused to hear that. Because if you go into those stories of bitterness, you will realize that even Edgar Lungu himself was not innocent. Even Edgar Lungu did things. And surely if you compare who suffered, let's just ask ourselves, let's be genuine for once. Let's be objective for once. Who suffered between Hakainde Hichilema and Edgar Lungu? Who suffered? But Edgar Lungu tabalire na tear gas. But Edgar Lungu was not even threatened by the police. Not at once when they wanted to cut the gate. No. But Edgar Lungu came out and confronted the police. No police threatened him. But Edgar Lungu was not even called to police. But Edgar Lungu never slept one day or a few hours at the police station responding to anything relating to himself. Never. So who really suffered between Hakainde Hichilema and Edgar Lungu? Who suffered? So that's why in Nepal one thing that you fatari and they but tafile sense. And that is why even the court has said tafile panga sense. But in our opposition you can remember mwagungana around by Esther, and you are saying the court was compromised. The court was paid. imwe mwebantu mushaba n'amajudges mwamwene balya, do they look like they can be corrupted by Chavinga? Who is Chavinga? Who is Chavinga? What does Chavinga know? No, they were compromised. Tapali Fiakobat, they were compromised. Tapali Fiakobat Balidia. Tapali Fiakobat Balidia. Before you start blaming Yama judges to say Balidia, ask yourselves, what story did the Lungu family bring before court? What story? What points did the Lungu family bring before court? What? They brought only bitterness and hatred. That's all. That's all. So whilst you are blaming those judges, you are accusing those judges to have had eaten, to have had been corrupted. Ask yourself, what case did you bring? You brought bitterness. You brought hatred. No. Haka in the Edgar Lungu didn't want him to be part of the funeral. And the court said, that is not our issue. We can't stop a president of another country from attending a funeral. That's what they say. And surely, can the court stop another president from attending a funeral or from participating in whatever activity in his country? Can they? Can they? Even your lawyer was asked this question. Can the court stop a president to participate in anything in the country, in his country? Can they? Before you are accusing those judges, answer me. Can the court in South Africa bar Hakainde Hichilema from attending? Can they? They can't. They can't. And then the family goes, no, according to us as a family, we don't want Edgar Lungu to be buried in Zambia. And by the way, Edgar Lungu did not say, I want to be buried in South Africa. It is very clear. As you are busy accusing those judges, the question was asked, did Edgar Lungu say, I want to be buried in South Africa? Even yourselves answer that. Did Edgar Lungu say, I don't want to be buried in South Africa? Did he? Edgar Lungu left a will of bitterness. A will of bitterness. A will of bitterness against Hakainde Hichilema. But he didn't say I should be buried in South Africa. It is the family that has come up to say, no, we want him to be buried in South Africa. Why do you want Edgar Lungu to be buried in South Africa? No, we don't trust the government. We don't trust the government. So because you don't trust the government, then Edgar Lungu should be buried in South Africa. Okay, fine, let's hear you. What don't you trust the government on? You are saying, no, we want to bury Edgar Lungu in South Africa because we don't trust the government. The question is, what don't you trust the government on? Can you give us the reasons why you don't trust the government? No, we don't trust the government that Hakainde Hichilema will not be part. Isn't that the bitterness we are talking about? Isn't that the bitterness that we are talking about? Is that what the court, is that what you want the judges to rule in favor of you? That you have got a point. You have got a point. Let him be buried here. Because if you go and bury in Zambia, Hakainde Hichilema will be part of it. What about public interest? When Edgar Lungu was in State House, Kaunda said I should be buried at the farm, and the children insisted that he should be buried at the farm. They went to court and they ruled to say no, public interest is bigger. When you become a public person, you belong to the public. You are part of the people who voted for you. So, in other ways, what I'm trying to talk about here is that It is unfortunate that you have even started maligning innocent judges in South Africa. You are calling them corrupt. You are calling them corrupt. But you are calling them corrupt. What is your case? Before you call those judges corrupt, the issue is, what is your case? What is your case before you call those judges corrupt? What arguments did you make in court before you call those judges corrupt? Let's be fair, man. Let's be fair. That judgment, it is a very simple judgment. A very simple judgment based on what was submitted in court. And clearly, what case are you holding on to? Now you have gone to appeal. You have gone to for an appeal. And you are saying, no, they should not look at Kawechi Banda. Kawechi Kawenda's case. Okay? So, basically, before I come to the grounds of appeal, I want to answer this one, the issue of where is the body. So, apparently, what happened was, according to Bakawechi, according to Bakamesha, what happened is on Friday directed that, the body should be repatriated and the body should be handed over to government. That was the ruling on Friday. The ruling was that the body should be repatriated and the body should be given to the government. So what happened was that immediately after, the Zambian government started making arrangements. They started making arrangements so that the body can be handed over to the Zambian government. But the Lungu family, the Lungu family, Mingala Toshavo, they were running about. Okay? They were running about, and instead they informed the government to say, and by the way, this is the lawyers now, because when something is in court, you talk through lawyers. So what happened now? They told the lawyers of the government to say, we have appealed. You see, we have appealed. So upon that, they stopped it because they said they have appealed. So the Zambian government withdrew from pushing for the body, which was something prudent. Like Bakamesha said, that we were decent. Because if it was Makebi Zulu would have not respected the word from the lawyers of the Lungu family. If Makebi Zulu would have gone ahead, to fight to get the body. But the Zambian government respected their word because they informed them that we have appealed. And according to the South African law, is that an appeal acts as a stay. This is contrary to, there's an article that I had given, but from what Bakamesha has said, it's different. According to the South African law, an appeal acts as a stay, meaning when you appeal, then the execution or the orders which you are given have to wait. So you follow me very well here. An appeal, not an application for appeal, but an appeal acts as a stay. So on Friday, after court, the lawyers of the family informed the lawyers of the government to say, we have appealed. And since the law in South Africa says that an appeal acts as a stay or stops the orders from being executed, the Zambian government waited. Okay? But when they received the documentations, later on in the day, which was after 16, And you see, they were playing in Mingalato. First of all, from court, they were running away. And, they didn't allow the Zambian government to interact with them so that they get the body. They were playing around until later in the afternoon. Okay? So the Zambian government waits. Oh, okay. Now let's wait for the documents. But when the documents came, what came were the notice of appeal. Now, notice of appeal is different from an appeal. You should understand this point very well. Notice of appeal is not an appeal. It is asking the court the leave or asking the court permission to appeal. There are cases where the judgment the judges clearly says, you are free to appeal. Okay? But there are some cases where it is silent, and in this case, you go to court and say, okay, you gave us the judgment, but this judgment, according to us, we are not satisfied. May we please appeal? Not when they communicated. When they communicated, they said we have appealed. Okay? But when they gave the documents, they realized, the Zambian government realized to say it was only a notice asking the court, we want to appeal. And it wasn't an appeal. Meaning to say, they played the Mingalato ababantu efirandera ndati munjerereko muri ubukuruku abantu bateye Mingalato makrooks niba mafia. First, they were running away. They couldn't allow the Zambian government to get hold of the body. And next, they say we have appealed. And yet, it was not an appeal that they had filed in. It was a notice of appeal, which is different from an appeal. An appeal, it means, okay, fine, it is there. It has started. The case has started. But these people, they filed in an application, notice of appeal. And yet they told the Zambian government to say, not to start appeal, which made the Zambian government to hold back, not to look for the body. Akantuapa, they don't want the Zambian government to see the body. And pali body, pali uwile, there is something mysterious about this issue of the body. Because they are so much running away from anyone accessing the body. Pali uwile. Anyway, in the evening, which is after 16 hours, the Zambian government received a notice of appeal. And I assume by that time the day was almost done. That was Friday. So they couldn't do anything. And thereby, the body is still with the family. And why is it they still with the family? It is still with the family because the family, they are playing in Mingalato Pali body. They are playing in Mingalato Pali body, Pali uwile, Pali chiripo, Pali body, Pali chiripo. Because court ya veva, kachitensa renda body, bambo kumutuka. Next, babe popu fiati, we have appealed. We have appealed. Okay? Next, ama document yese, wasanga, it's a notice of appeal. Somebody is written to say notice of appeal is a start of an appeal. Yes, Frank Chilufya, is a start of appeal, but the point is, at that moment, it is not an appeal. Yes, just like fertilization is a start of the life of a child, but you cannot say there is a baby. You can't. Fertilization is it is a start of a life of a child, but there is no baby yet. So the point is that the Zambian government, for example, if they had received that notice of appeal and they had time, they would still be able to execute the orders, because a notice is simply asking the court to say we want to appeal, the orders are still effective. The orders are still effective. Until when the court rules to say, yes, you can appeal. Once the court agrees to say, yes, you can appeal, then the stay comes to effect. As we speak, the orders can be executed because the court has not pronounced itself. The court has not pronounced itself. What is happening at the moment, Mingala Toshiripo, because this matter happened on Friday and Saturday, probably people are not working and definitely they are running away. I am sure Makebi Zulu and the family, they are definitely running away. And the family, they are running away because they know that at the moment, the orders are effective. But what is important is the word that Bakabesha used to say we are decent. We are decent. The government is acting maturely. If the government was not acting maturely, believe you me, they would have secured that body on Friday. But the government is being prudent. The government is being deliberate. The government is being respectful. The government is being mature. Because Makebi Zulu is not mature. Makebi Zulu is not prudent. Makebi Zulu does not do things out of objectively or with respect. Makebi Zulu doesn't. But the government is being respectful. And this is a point that we should get. Because even me, I said to say government in the why. Government in the why. And this is where I'm appreciating the government, because if it were me, surely, I would have handled this case differently. Differently. Even your friend member, even you know whenever friend member, and even these others, Nakaka Miracle President, you would have handled this case differently. I don't know which political leader would handle this matter the way Aka Indichem is handling it. Most of us, we are very motive. Most of us, we are fire. If it was me, I'm telling you, even on Saturday, we would have gone to open that mortuary. Even on Sunday, we would have. This government is saying, Bakabesha said, we are being decent. And I admire that. So, what is there, Bane, at the moment is not an appeal. It is a notice. A notice meaning they are asking the court, can we appeal? And the court will look at this probably tomorrow. Probably tomorrow, Monday, the court will look at it. They filed after 16 hours. Meaning, ama judges nishna vaya kale and whatever. That's when they were filing it. Now, on Monday, the court will have an opportunity to look at that notice of appeal. They look at the notice of appeal and the grounds. The grounds. What are the reasons why they want to appeal? What are the reasons? And Bakabesha said that they have raised 17 grounds. And some of the issues that they have raised on why they want to appeal. Number one is that no, you can't give the body to the government. Okay? You can't give the body to the government. Number two, they are saying, no, you can't use Kaweche Banda's case. Number three, they are saying, no, South African law does not accept. Okay? And other reasons thereof. And then they are saying, there was no agreement. Okay? These were very important points that I picked up. Number one, they are saying, no, you can't give the Zambian government the body. It's not their body. It's not their body. Edgar Lungu temwana wakwa akaende ichilima. So you can't give them their body. You can't give them the body. No. The South African government said, the court said, as much as this case happened in South Africa, we have to look at the laws in Zambia and the policies in Zambia. Because the person that died is a former head of state. So we need to look at what happens to a former head of state in Zambia. And the laws are saying, no. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. You don't have to look at the Kaweche Banda case. You don't have to look at the Kaweche Banda case. The Kaweche Banda case did not go to trial, and whatever, they are coming up with their own technicalities. Then third, they are saying the South African government allow the body to be given to somebody else other than the next king, the next king. Then they are saying there was no agreement. Now, let's look at these arguments. Number one, they are saying, no, you can't give the body to the government. Okay, you can't. No, you can't. The court clearly said this man was a former head of state. And as a former head of state, personal and individual aspirations are set aside in preference or are set aside in preference of the public interest. Public interest outweighs personal and individual interests. You hear that? That is what the South African government is saying. That this person was a former head of state. And as a former head of state, personal and the individual interests are set aside. And this is just the truth. And we can cite many examples where people who are in public have had their personal wishes and families have had their wishes or interests. And all that was put aside. Earlier on, I was giving an example of a pope, Muchechi. Pope Francis, and I'm sure even there are also other popes who have died. But Pope Francis had his own personal wishes. And the family had their own wishes. Unfortunately, the church had to decide according to the church tradition. The church has to decide. There are many instances where people who are in public, they had asked for something and yet, public interest overrides their personal wishes. So what is different? Family? What is different? How many times have you seen people who are in public offices where their wishes have been set aside? How many times? You would cite, there are so many examples which you would cite world over. World over. So, chawasha different kuri balungu. For you to say, the court cannot give the body to the government. Then you are talking about Kaweche Banda, you are bringing in technicalities because Bakabesha quoted the Kaweche Kaunda case ya Kaunda. And you are saying, no, you are bringing in technicalities. Makebi is bringing in technicalities. But Makebi Zulu, you are not the one to judicial jurisprudence. No. No. You are not the one to decide. You can't decide what is jurisprudence or what should be part of our case laws. It's not you to decide. The Kaweche Kaunda case has been recognized as a case law or as precedence. So whatever technicalities Makebi Zulu is bringing in, it can't stand. Kaweche Kaunda is part of our case law. And you can't change that. So even appealing on that, it won't do. It won't do. Then the third point, they are saying, the third point, what are they saying? The South African law. They're saying, no, the South African law says that you have to give to the whatever. It was argued in that court that whilst the South African law is that you should give to the family, there are circumstances where common knowledge must be applied. If there are interests that comes in, common knowledge has to apply. And there are cases which were cited where the so-called next kin was not given that relief. There are cases which they cited. In this instance, the South African government recognized the laws of Zambia. Recognized, they said we can't just look at the South African law. We need to look at what obtains in Zambia. And in Zambia, the benefits of the president and whatever clearly states that a person, the government comes in when this person dies. No, he was not treated properly. He was not as a president and whatever. The court refused to hear that, to say those are other issues. So, the South African law, the court addressed that. We were following and we heard it. The fourth reason is that no, there was no agreement. The agreement which was there, it was not an agreement. We were supposed to talk again and whatever. Okay? The court was very clear, even during the trial. We heard it. It said, as much was the fact that, no, Hakainde Hichilema should not be part of the funeral. But the court in South Africa said, we cannot stop another president from participating in an activity in that country. We can't. It is beyond us. That's what the court said. So based on these, because these were the most important, according to me, most important reasons. So these are what I've just told you. These are the arguments which they, Lungu family, have asked the court that we want to appeal based on these reasons. But from what I've told you, do you really think these grounds have, these points have grounds? I don't think they have legs to stand on. And since when you are asking the court has got the responsibility to respond. You are asking the court, can I appeal? What the court does is to look at your grounds of appeal. When they look at your grounds of appeal, the court will say, leave to appeal not granted. So tomorrow, what we will be hearing tomorrow is whether the court will agree that the family should appeal based on those grounds. The court will read the grounds. When they read the grounds and when they think to say, maybe somebody else would look at it differently, then they will grant their appeal. But that doesn't mean that the appeal has been won. It is only when the court look at it to say, okay, maybe somebody can look at this differently. But if they look at the grounds, they are like, these grounds cannot stand. Nobody else can look at these grounds differently. That application or notice of appeal can be rejected. So tomorrow, never move will. They have just ababinadungu n'abalanda fi n'abaleta amarizons but awe if a ruling yenu judgment yenu tatuisumine nekyo tatuisumine number one itemupere umubiri kubuteko you can't give the body to the family. No, you can't. But the court is saying we want to add the former president. So public interest which is represented in Mubuteko, they have got a right. And that's why Baba Piri. Number two, yote timu won't take away Chibanda because Chibanda is a case Chabana. But according to the Zambian courts, that judgment stands. And the court in South Africa agreed with it. Number three, South Africa law yakuno tetimupele bambya bantu kupela bamukamfulwa. And the South African government, the South African court is saying there are situations where that can happen. There are situations where that can happen. It is not cast in concrete. Number four, at there was no agreement. But what Kwali agreement, echo mwakwatire ya press conference, mwalikwete press conference, nicho mwali, no, you agreed, there was an agreement. That's why you had that press conference. And when you had that press conference, bonse babita mwali suminisha nyoko bati body free atashani, ya kuzambia. Mwali suminisha nyata mwata ikini. Echo muleta liganapo chako bati ba haka indi chima tawafuyo kuwa. But mwalishuminisha kwati body free ya kuzambi ichiripo mwetalika napako ati akaende ichirima tawafile basangwa. And court but if we here in South Africa kuno South Africa tatukwete ensambu shakukanya kateka wachalo chimbi ukoba testi asango kuchiriro na ngutetayo kuna mteta chief tatukwete ensambu. So ayo ema grounds. No manga mwayo mfwa ayo ema grounds. Pantu ayo ema grounds ya numba. Wapere kuploti kwa bati tushuminishe mpichite appeal. Do you think the court will agree that these arguments go to another court? I doubt. And why do I doubt? I doubt based on the grounds. The grounds are flimsy.